so there's a little bit, it's our land and their land.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I'm waiting for one more person to have a quorum, so we're going to skip over the approval of the minutes and the financial report and go to the student report.
All right, awesome. Yeah, our other representative thought this was at the high school, so she will be here shortly. But I'll start. So, as fall has begun to settle in, Student Council has just been working very hard to make sure we're prepared for the busiest season of the school year. So starting back in September, Student Council has begun implementing new policies to track attendance and participation. And then similarly, we have begun dividing the council into standing committees, each with its own set responsibilities for the entirety of the school year, just to make sure we stay on track and are getting as much done as possible. And not to toot my own horn, but I think we have been doing a great job following through with that. I've seen a lot more participation in like spirit days, volunteer opportunities, and our meetings as well. So, and in those meetings, I think we have been a lot more productive and we've been getting a lot more done than previous years. So I think that's just, I think that's great. So starting early in the month of September, Student Council began working very hard with the cheerleaders and the football team to bring the heat at each of our home football games. So there are 4 games in total, and we scheduled each team out. The first one was USA themed. I threw a picture on there, but everything's in black and white, so you can't see anything. But we had a great turnout. We had a couple people dressed up as the founding fathers. I was one of them. And then, so that was the first game. The next game was Beach Party. Great turnout there too. Our last game was Pink Out. And then our 4th and final game is themed as Neon, and that is going to be this Friday. And on the same limb of school spirit, we have decided on our Homecoming Spirit Week. I wrote this a couple weeks ago. So Homecoming Spirit Week is this week. And each of our spirit days have been chosen and by our full council. I sent out a student voice survey so that as many people can participate in the selection process as possible. So those 5 days are Adam Sandler Day, which was yesterday, Clone Day, which was today. Tomorrow is Dress as Something That Your Name Starts With Day. This is the first year that I've seen it happen at our school. I'm dressing up as a piece of bacon. Thursday is Teacher-Student Swap Day, and then Friday is Neon Day in correlation with our homecoming football game theme. And then on Saturday, our homecoming dance will be happening from 7 to 9 in the field house, and the theme we chose was Gleam and Glow, and it's like kind of like Tangled, so everything's purple and gold theme. I thought that was a good idea. I didn't choose it, but I just had to clarify. I'm not trying to hype myself up here, but that was not me. And then lately, our council has also been making sure we're providing service to our community as well. I know in past years we haven't been able to do that as much as we have hoped to, and we started this year off pretty strong in trying to bring that back. So starting a couple weeks ago, we began doing random acts of kindness Fridays. So we used to do that before COVID. We haven't done it in a couple of years. And we planned on writing positive affirmations on like the bathroom mirrors. We couldn't follow through with that because we didn't have enough people to sign up and actually write on the mirrors. So instead we opted to write sticky notes with positive affirmations and then leave them on our bulletin board. So it was like a take what you need, leave what you can thing. It seemed to be received pretty well by the students. And I thought that was a good thing to fall back on considering like it was like a last minute decision. So I'm glad how that ended up going. And then we have also begun trying to give back to our staff by pushing our teacher trolley cart around during help sessions. So we did that a couple weeks ago. And we also used that as a bribe to get our chaperones for homecoming. And it worked pretty well. But it's not only a bribe, we do appreciate our staff. We're planning on doing that a couple more times throughout the school year as well. And then finally, we have begin to put in place multiple fundraisers to help raise money for Positively for Pink. So that took place a couple weeks ago as well. I know we were working with Cancer Kids First Club, and we also made it so that all student admissions to our Pink Out football game would be kind of funneled toward raising money for P4P as well. And we raised over $1,800 for P4P, which I thought was great. I think it was like 1,827 or something. I saw the check today, so we'll be sending that out to them shortly. And just by bringing back like these community service activities, we hope to foster a more positive energy and improve the atmosphere at our school. And then finally, we just have a couple of larger scale events that our student council is planning on participating in. So last month, on September 25th, our student council advisor and I attended our MASC's annual President's Dinner at the MSAA building in Franklin. So every year, the Massachusetts Association of Student Council puts on this big dinner for all executive board presidents around the state. There was great food, there was a lot of bonding activities so that we could connect with other councils. And overall, I thought it was a great time. We handed out, or I'm on the board, but I also received it because I'm a president. We handed out these gifts to each of the presidents, and since our theme, like for the state board, is like it's Greece themed, it's MASC to Olympus, rising to the peak of leadership. So we handed out like ivory crowns to mark the position of president, as well as a scroll of wisdom to just give advice to our student council presidents across the state. And I understand that's a little confusing, but and then on Saturday, October 25th, so this Saturday, our student council executive board will be attending MASC's annual officer shop at Worcester Tech. And there we just plan on attending different workshops and leadership exercises, and we hope to bring back skills to make our council more efficient. And then finally, on Wednesday, November 12th, our council will be attending our Central District of the Massachusetts Association of Student Councils annual fall conference at Grafton High School, and we will be bringing 40 plus delegates to help bond with other councils and learn skills to help serve our community. And that's all I really had to touch upon for the month of September.
Thank you, Ben. Does anybody have any questions or comments for Ben?
Do you take questions about the playlist for the dance today, or is that a delay?
No, I can take that now. I can try to get that to our DJ. It's a little bit last minute, but I'm sure he'd be open to suggestions.
Sounds like somebody's going to chaperone.
It's a trap.
for you.
Thank you, Ben. We do have a quorum, excuse me, but we'll finish the student reports. Excuse me, I believe we have a new rep.
So if I may be so bold as to introduce our new technical division student rep, Kiara Gonzalez, who goes by Kiki to most of us, and a great choice. You are spoiled with these two representatives. So, Kiki.
Welcome. We'll go around and introduce ourselves to you before you give the report. Sheila Noyce Miller, Broomfield.
Deb Boyd, Superintendent. Eric Gothier, taking minutes.
Christine Randall, Wales.
Ted Goodwin, Sturbridge.
Laura Alden, Holland. Candace Green, Holland.
Megan Panic, Sturbridge.
Megan Mooney, Sturbridge.
Michelle Fitzgerald, Sturbridge. Danielle Kane in Brookfield.
Andy Dunn, Brookfield.
Jody Barrasso, Assistant Superintendent.
Kristen Leo, Director of Business and Finance.
Welcome, Kiki.
Reverse order.
Won't quiz you.
There's a test.
Okay, go for it.
Thank you all for having me. I'm this year's senior representative for Tech. I'm in the health career shop, and I'm excited to tell you all about what we have been going on recently. So all of the 9th graders are in the beginning of their 3rd rotation where they get to experience each shop and see all they can offer. So I'm not really going to touch upon the 9th graders since they're all like rotating through, but I'm going to go through each shop and touch upon the different grades and what they've been working on. In hospitality, sophomores are working on units involving customer service, and they're learning about the important role it has within the hospitality industry. Recently, they have been practicing breakfast service in the Cornerstone Cafe with Culinary, which is our cafe that we have in our school. For hospitality, juniors and seniors are managing lunch services in the Cornerstone Cafe. Juniors are studying hotel food services and local banquet menus, while seniors are focused on hospitality management, including leadership styles and business operations. In CAD, sophomores have been learning introduction to AutoCAD software, and the juniors and seniors are working on more advanced software such as 3D Max. Seniors also assisted in Apple Country Radio in Brookfield with their move into their new location. Students have also been studying space, planning, and designing various residential areas. They were tasked with creating a super house design that incorporates sleeping areas, living spaces, and service areas. In health careers, sophomores are wrapping up reviews from March through June. They have also been writing essays regarding My Sister's Keeper and are engaged in skills labs related to restraints and learning about mitred corners. Juniors are working on vital signs. They have been practicing bed making and have been practicing temperatures and documenting with vital signs. They will soon be starting the Dean Vaughn Medical Terminology program. Seniors started clinical on October 6th at Quabog on the Common. They completed their 13-hour Alzheimer's Association habilitation therapy training and are currently working on their BLS in first aid. We also recently finished Chapter 48, which is Rehabilitation and Restorative Care. In carpentry, seniors were waiting for their subcontractors to finish the foundation and backfill on the job project before they could safely set up staging. In a couple of weeks, they will have framed all the exterior walls and begun on plywood flooring. They're typically on job sites between 10 a.m. and 1:50 p.m., and their current project is located on 307 The Trail in Sturbridge. In machine shops, seniors have been learning new material on machines, while some are making parts to fix tables for the Cornerstone Cafe. Juniors are learning new material and working collaboratively with machines, while sophomores are working on their first projects, which involve learning the basics of machine operation. In electrical, seniors did a few small jobs at the Broomfield Food Pantry as well as Wells Elementary School, such as replacing all of the lights. Some days, students are working on projects around the school, helping out various rooms and staff members. In some of my classrooms, I've seen electrical students working on projectors and in the library, so I've seen some of them. Seniors will also be starting a job at 9 Amber Road soon. I don't know if that's started yet, but in business tech, sophomores, juniors, and seniors recently completed a financial literacy unit focused on budgeting and personal finance. Sophomores are studying customer service and are applying their skills directly within the retail environment at the school store. Juniors and seniors have been exploring graphic design principles in preparation for their roles in the design center for the school merchandise. This past month was the reopening of the school store. Outdated inventory was moved out and new spiritware was introduced. The store, like Ben had mentioned, collaborated with student council to support themed spiritware for football games. Their proudest accomplishment was the Positively Pink event, which also Ben mentioned, and that was a 2-week fundraiser that generated significant revenue, which was all being donated directly to the cause. And in culinary, this month, junior and senior culinary students prepared for the Skills USA MRE Challenge, which was taking place today at the National Guard Armory in Natick. The MRE Challenge tasks students using only the contents of military ready-to-eat foods. Students had to upcycle these items to prepare a 3-course meal along with a specialty beverage. This exercise emphasizes resourcefulness, creativity, and practical cooking skills under specific constraints. And finally, in IT, sophomores are working on their OSHA 10 and CompTIA Plus certification, and they're also learning to use disk airways to improve data storage performance. Juniors are also working on their CompTIA Plus certification, and they're learning IP addresses and how to manage traffic on network devices. And finally, seniors have provided and are still helping with technical support to the Sturbridge Senior Center. They are working to earn their CompTIA Network Plus certification before winter break, and this certificate is about earned industry recognized that will help students to validate their technical skills, increase job opportunities after graduation, and enhance their credibility in the IT field. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Kiki. Anybody have any questions or comments for Kiki? you both, and
Thank you both.
we will move on to approval of minutes of the regular session September 8th. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes? So Megan, a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion, corrections, deletions? Seeing none? Unanimous consent? Got that? Alrighty, thank you. Financial report.
In front of you, you have a 5-year comparison of the expenditures and encumbrances. We're right along where we ought to be at this time of the year. A little bit lower on the revenues, but I believe that's to be expected given the current situation. The financial report is a separate packet. If you haven't
Yeah.
received one, let me know.
Did I miss you?
No problem. Sorry.
We didn't get it out with the mail packet, then we emailed it the day after, and here we are.
And here we are. So that is just a status on expenditures and revenues. The second page is something that we're asking for a vote for. Hopefully, this makes sense to everyone. We did negotiate a number of contracts in the spring, so some of these budget requests are to move things from the line we had the amount of money budgeted in to the lines where the actual salaries are, as well as just some other alignments to support that full budget process. So we have I separated it out for our Unit A paraprofessionals, our Unit B administrative support folks, and then any of the other additional lines that we want to adjust to support the budget process.
Motion to approve the budget transfers as presented. A second?
Second.
Any questions? No problem. Any questions, comments? Yes.
Does this account for there's some change in the junior high with lead instructors?
So,
Is it something that can come up
No,
later?
we could, sorry, no. What is covered here is there is a junior high transfer between regular teaching and special ed, because during the budget process, we did end up we had 3 reading teachers at the junior high. Mr. Sturgis suggested we don't need, based on the counts, the 3, but instead wanted to use those dollars for another special ed teacher. So that's what one of the transfers there is, to put it in the special ed, which is why that line is. The other teaching lines are the academic teachers often get a little muddled between the tech school and the non-tech and where people get movements or applied to. So there's extra money sitting in the senior high, non-tech, but it's short in the academic tech. So we just want to clean that up. The other stuff is all through the negotiations. The issue you're talking about is during the process when we needed to reduce the budget between February and March, we reduced the stipend lines, the extracurricular stipend lines. And one of the things that Mr. Sturgis did at the junior high was to this year not fill the lead teachers. Still filled the team leaders, but not the lead teachers. So those are stipends that weren't budgeted at all because we reduced the budget. So that there's no transfer or anything needed for that.
Okay.
Is that what you were referring to, is the stipended positions?
Yeah, I guess,
Yeah.
Michelle?
Thank you.
Speaking of the stipends, I know we don't have currently an athletic trainer, am I correct?
We currently have our athletic director, who is a certified athletic trainer and is serving as such.
And
We
how-
don't have the separate, we've got, unless we did in the last 2 hours,
So, yes, we
Yeah.
have, he showed up.
because we had signed an agreement and we're waiting to
We can
find,
source someone.
and apparently, from this morning to now, we do.
Okay, I was gonna ask.
Will be
you
starting with
where that
us,
went.
do we know yet when?
Yeah, well, from now on. So we're a contract.
Effective tomorrow?
Effective, yeah.
Excellent.
So that answers my question about
There
that
you go.
stipend and where
Exactly,
that would
yeah.
have gone.
And that isn't so much stipend, that was in the athletic budget.
In the budget,
It was,
yeah.
yes, it was a hourly rate, and now we will use that money for the we found a contracted services company that has a pool of athletic trainers and went shopping for us. And found one.
So it's an outside source we're using?
Yep.
And will that be a consistent person, or will it possibly be a revolving door?
So it's a two-tiered fee structure. We opted for, to pay a little more to get one person to establish a relationship with the kids, which we felt was important, or you can go on a per diem.
Any other questions? Any objections to the motion? Any abstentions? Approved by unanimous consent. And sorry, we have to go back to the approval of minutes, but I just realized I did not ask for abstentions. Is there anybody that abstains on the approval of minutes because they were not here? Two. That's that.
Candace and Megan.
Thank you, sorry about that. Staff reports, Mr. Sturgis.
All right, well, we met early in September, so my typical report then would have had the introduction to the new school year, new staff, which is included in the report. Just a couple of things going on around here right now. We had our yearly Halloween dance last week, a little early. We have to kind of play off of their homecoming weekend, so we don't have that much traffic in one spot on a given night. Sturbridge PD might kill us if we did that. But we did have approximately 400 students attend the Halloween dance last Friday night. And I can say it now, I don't have to knock on wood anymore. Pretty uneventful, it went off without a hitch. So that's always something the kids look forward to. Fall sports is actually almost already over. We finish out our fall sports season this week. And we've already posted our winter sports, our basketball tryouts are the same week we typically do. It's the 5-day week right before the Thanksgiving break, because we utilize all the coaches across the high school as well to do tryouts. So that way we start our season with our pick teams after that first week when they do tryouts after Thanksgiving on the high school side of the street. We have the school play auditions are going to start the first week of November. It's still 2 weeks away. We've actually added a new club, the debate club. It's been there for a long time. It's been the first time it's been awakened. We have actually the 7th grade crew we have is constantly reaching out with new ideas for new clubs. So who knows what we'll have by the end of the year. We got our annual food drive up and running. We started that with the Halloween dance sale tickets. So we give the kids a reduced price dance ticket if they bring in donated goods. And then we have donated turkeys. So we look to build up to 30 Thanksgiving baskets for families. And we usually get a surplus of food, and helps us build a holiday basket at Christmas time as well for some families who could just use the extra support. Tomorrow we are recognizing Unity Day and joining in and wearing orange to support anti-bullying efforts around the district. And I guess finally, just touching base with Jamie, I'm going to butcher the last name, Rabideau. We're only worked with her for 3 years now. Just getting up and running, scheduling the 8th grade visit to the vocational high school, probably in the second week of November before it gets too cold to walk over there. So we'll have the kids over there soon, and then we will have our entire 8th grade apply it for entrance into the vocational high school the week after.
Okay, any questions for Mr. Sturgis? Megan?
So you mentioned adding a new club. Didn't we cut in the budget a lot of clubs?
We did, so these are clubs that we have the club has to run for 3 years consecutively and then have people attending it regularly for it to become a stipend position. So this is just teacher volunteering his time to let the kids do a debate club in this classroom. So we have a couple of teachers who have been asked by kids to just hang out so the kids can do, like we're going to have an anime club that's not a stipend position, that just a few teachers who are willing to let kids stay in their room and do something.
Thank you.
Okay. Your contractual process is if there is interest, both student and advisor, to try out a new club, that it run, the general rule of thumb is that it run for 3 years so the principal can evaluate how much the interest is and how much work is involved in doing it. And if if there's interest in continuing, contractually, there's a process and a subcommittee group, a stipend group, that is supposed to meet to evaluate, to meet jointly, hopefully, school committee and the union, to look at placing what category within our stipend in the contract that club might be appropriate. So the setting of the stipend for the advisor is a process that is laid out in the contract. But then even once it's there, we have our conversations every year as to what we can fund. Just because it's listed in the contract doesn't mean it absolutely happens. We've got to see financially what can we afford to, and in this particular case, as we talked before, there's a few things that both sides of the street were saying. We've got to not do something worth, I forget the dollars, $20,000 or so, and left it to the principals based on participation, what to not run this year. But we still will, if this is a successful club, that'd be great. We'd still want to go through the process of making sure we list it in the contract as a paid advisor, and then if it continues, that helps define what we will pay.
If the budget,
Hmm?
if there's a budget for it.
Right. Yeah.
Any other questions? Okay, on to technical report. Does anybody have any questions that somebody here might be able to answer on the technical report?
Well,
Dr.
Dr.
Dufresne, put
Dufresne,
any
yes, to
questions
give
on
the
anything in
technical
here.
report?
Just like Kiki, this will be my first technical report.
Okay,
So,
go for it.
Linda with me. It's not that long because we sat down together to go over what we were going to talk about, and she took most of it. So very pleased to sort of start to learn more about sort of the tech division myself. I've always been in classrooms, but this has given me an opportunity to learn a new set of programming. To that end, Ms. Robato and I, we have re-engaged with the Massachusetts Association of Vocational Administrators. We were always a member of MAVA, but I'm not sure we had an attendance, so we're going to the general membership meeting and the board of directors meeting tomorrow evening together, just to begin to sort of get caught up on best practices in the state and what our sister schools are doing. Further, Ms. Robato and I have begun an audit, both an internal and an external audit. We'll guess it'll take all year. Internally, we want to look at our programming, our materials, our equipment, what might need replacing in the next 3 years, what sort of begin to project some costs, and externally, what are popular shops that will drive students to our programs as we look to sort of expand and reshape sort of that technical division into the, we want everything to reach its full potential. The faculty in the tech division has been nothing short of fantastic and helpful to Ms. Robato as she assumes her new role, and I'm looking forward to more conversations with the faculty as we sort of plan the long-term future of that program. We have a lot of great things going on, as you heard from Kiki, and we want to keep it going. And stay a little bit ahead of the trend if we can, so that we're not chasing our tail in terms of updating equipment or building new programming into the tech division.
Great. Does anybody have any questions concerning technical or comments?
I don't know if now is the right time or if I wait for the subcommittee reports to ask about who we should meet with and when.
Cool, yeah, so, because, now is fine, I'm gonna segue into a piece of my superintendent's report, so, just to remind folks, so, Mr. Wood's official retirement date is November 1st, but he is using vacation time, so he is, for all intents and purposes, retired, and as we mentioned last month, Jamie Robato is the interim tech director. We did, effective November 1st, so, she did help prepare this report, is already working very closely with Pete. We have invited her to attend these meetings starting next month. I said, take a pass tonight, you're not official yet. So next month, Jamie will join us. For those of you that haven't met her, we'll have that opportunity. I think Jamie will take the lead, on the tech subcommittee meetings. So that'll be a good relationship for those who have been on. Have you met her already? Because I don't know if she had been in any of the meetings before, but Jamie, I think will take the lead and kind of keep Pete up to date.
And I'll probably, I haven't attended a tech subcommittee meeting, so this will be my year, but Jamie will, as the interim director.
I'll reach out to you both to see if we can schedule something for what makes sense timing wise, and then when we can get the crew together.
Sound good?
There you go.
Thank you.
And while we're on that, and my superintendent, we are in the process and optimistic that we can backfill an interim assistant or dean of students or something similar to just get that extra set of hands to help the building for the rest of the year before we get to spring and lock things down permanently. There was a decent pool of applicants, so Dr. Frame's working on that.
Any other questions concerning technical? All right, continuing on, Dr. Frame for the high school.
Something I know a little more about, so.
You did great.
So we just wanted to note how well, we realize it's only been about 5 weeks, but since the school year started, maybe 6, but we have a new model, leadership model for student support in the guidance area, and thus far, things are going quite well in terms of just streamlining service delivery and hopefully reaching all of our students. Further, the reorganization allowed us to create a second full-time freshman counselor. Our freshmen are our biggest, not challenge, but they need the most support. And so this has allowed our freshmen to really get most of that support and get a little bit more of a personalized service from their counselor. Our next steps, we're looking at developing a shared data dashboard to track the effectiveness of this model, and we want to measure it to make sure that it stays effective. Other things this past month, our National Honor Society inducted 73 new members in a beautiful ceremony. They have re-upped their recurring tutoring program to help out students. Any student at the high school can request help from an NHS tutor. And they've also made some different changes, just structurally, to their own meetings for effectiveness, and I applaud them for trying new things. Chorus started off the year with 39 new singers, a lot of them brand new to chorus. They are currently working on a piece in Latin, which brings me back to my high school days myself at a Catholic school, being forced to learn Latin. Thank you, Sister Eileen. The band, we want to thank Mr. Brozick from the junior high. We get the junior high and the senior high bands together. Once a year we buy them pizza and they all go out to the field together. And they all play at one of the football games, and frankly, we think it might be one of the biggest drivers of students to stay in the band program as they come across the street. And so this helped increase our band numbers. We have 57 students in band, 40 of which are in the 9th grade, so we're hoping to hold on to them. And they'll have their annual fall concert on Wednesday, October 29th in the auditorium. Feel free to stop by. Athletic teams are doing well. Our football team, I guess I won't be a prognosticator because I didn't predict a particular rebuilding year, and they are, I believe, 4-1 as of tonight, and have the next home games homecoming Friday night, so feel free to join in. You can read about through some of those other things, but just some other items to note. Boys soccer off to a great start. They're ranked 5th in the state right now in Division III. The cross-country team, once again, I think had 1 loss in the season. We have a very strong both boys and girls team. Very proud of them. And our golf team won the first. We are in a new athletic league. I think I might have mentioned it before. They won the first league championship earlier this month, and I think they placed 5th in the district championship at Chickweed Country Club on October 14th. I might have to correct that. And just a side note on our cheerleading team, which is at everything. It feels like that has 70 students on it. They seem to be at every single event, so they really work hard. And if you hang around the high school as much as I do, and every now and then take a walk out of your office late at night and see them in there working hard, it's pretty impressive. So just a shout out to them. And that is the academic report.
Any questions for Dr. Dufresne? Thank you. We're going to move on to the committee reports. In your packet, you do have a subcommittee list for 2025-26. If you're not sure where you're supposed to be, it's there. Start with budget, I have no report. Technical,
No report.
curriculum.
So we do actually have a report for the curriculum. We had 2 meetings, one for the high school, where we reviewed what bylaw is going to bring forward for the competency determination and the graduation requirement. And I'll let Michelle cover that. And then we also talked about quarterly grades. Instead of setting home official quarterly grades, we're going to send an email, and the parents can look at it through
PowerSchool.
yeah, PowerSchool. Thank you very much. And then and that was on September 29th. And then on October 20th, just yesterday, we had a great meeting with the junior high. Basically, we're going to codify what we have already done historically for the junior high exploration pathways. And Greg went over that with us. And again, I don't know, Michelle, you bringing that forward? Is Lila bringing that forward again too? Yeah, I thought so. Okay. And then the other thing is we had a review of the heterogeneous classes for everything but math, and that's going really well. Greg gave us a report, and it's going really well, so that's great. And then also on the September 29th, we learned that Pete is really into Middle Earth and and Lord of the Rings, which I appreciate it, so I just wanted to mention that.
Another layer of the onion view. The NEAS geek, and now Middle Earth.
Okay. Any questions for curriculum? Bylaw and policy. Michelle, you want to cover it under new business so we can get through these other committee reports if there are any?
Are there any other committee reports?
I'm not sure. I'm going to find out right now.
Sure. Go ahead. Let's do it differently. Why don't you go ahead?
No? No, and building and fiscal plan.
Nope.
All right, Michelle.
Great. Let's turn to new business. Excuse me. We have 3 policies before you tonight. The first is policy IKF, graduation requirements. We spoke briefly about this at our first meeting of the year, just to give you a heads up that it's coming, along with the competency determination policy. Both of these need to be passed and approved by this committee by the end of this year, by the end of December. So they're before you today on first reading. You may recall that this graduation policy and the competency determination policy are both a result of the elimination of MCAS as the sole determinant of competency, and via that, graduation. And so as a result, all districts have to, by the end of the year, have both a graduation requirement policy and a competency policy in the books. What you'll see before you in IKF is changed. We have always had a graduation requirement policy, but it's been in our handbook. It's been outlined in our handbook. We're doing it now pursuant to this change as part of our policy. It will also remain as a part of the handbook. As we've discussed in the past, every time this committee votes on the handbook, every spring, everything that's in that handbook then becomes policy. If you look at IKF, the only changes to this policy compared to what has existed in the handbook is found in numerical paragraph number 5. And as a result of the civil rights audit that we recently had, we are required now to have 4 years of physical education as part of our graduation requirement. Now, when you look at, we've always had 2 years, but if you look at 11th and 12th grade, you'll see that now we are requiring in 11th grade all juniors participate in Relay for Life, and in 12th grade all seniors participate in Credit for Life. And then all students will take 2 additional gym classes at some point during their high school years. If you're wondering how Relay for Life and Credit for Life, constitute physical ed, we are very assured that for purposes of the Civil Rights Audit and DESE, that definition of physical education is quite broad, intentionally so. The idea is to get kids involved, is not to exclude kids and make it difficult for them to graduate because of a really strict definition of physical education. And that's something that I think our leadership is going to be reviewing in an ongoing way to see what other potential
pathways or options might exist for students to satisfy the physical education requirement they now have for 4 years of PE. And I believe, curriculum will certainly be meeting probably throughout the year as Dr. Dufresne and others come up with other creative and valuable ways to meet that. But for now, we are assured that all juniors and all seniors participating in these events meets that requirement so long as those activities take place during the school day.
Right.
So instead of doing relay like we used to do at night, it will be during the day, and everyone's going to participate. So that is the only change to the graduation policy. However, we had some really good discussion at our subcommittee meeting about what's not contained in the graduation policy, and I think it's worth talking about, and I invite any of the members who were at the meeting to certainly chime in if I don't cover it all. What you don't see in this graduation policy are some of what Mass core frameworks outline. Specifically, you don't see 2 years of foreign language as a graduation requirement. Again, these requirements are the minimum, but it's not the expectation. And if you take a look at our handbook, all students from day one are very well aware that if they have college aspirations, whether it's 2-year or 4-year, the expectation of those colleges is that they take a minimum of 2 years. And in fact, for the more competitive schools, they're looking at 3 to 4 years of foreign language. So while it may not be a bar to graduation, it certainly is an expectation. And in fact, most of our college aspiring students are taking that foreign language. The other reason you don't see it as a graduation requirement is we are a really unusual school with our hybrid, our academic and technical hybrid. And it's virtually impossible, if not unfair, to require that our technical students get in 2 years of foreign language on top of their other requirements, on top of their technical requirements. And again, to prevent a bar to graduation for those students, the decision is that it will not be a graduation requirement, though it will remain an expectation and in fact a reality for most of the students at our school who are going on to higher education, and simply for those who find it a valuable undertaking. The same applies for what you don't see in math. You don't see 4 years of math as a requirement. Again, our handbook talks about what schools, colleges are looking for, and that's 4 years. But between scheduling, staffing, time, it's again extremely difficult to require as a graduation requirement that our tech students and others actually get those 4 years in. But I would suggest that if you look at what most students are doing, a good number of them are maxing out the math electives that we have as much as possible. And finally, what you don't see is civics. You don't see a civics requirement. The state requires civics. We've talked about this before. I think it's a challenge for all districts when you look at what we are trying to get through in the curriculum to have a standalone civics course. I think up to this point, we have been incorporating civics across the curriculum. And I think that is in the process of being changed and evaluated. And I think there's some very good initiatives on the horizon that Mr. Dufresne certainly can speak to about how we're going to address civics moving forward. But again, the fact that it's not listed in this graduation policy doesn't mean that we're not meeting that state requirement and imparting that to our students. With that, I want to ask if anybody who was at that meeting, and again, we had a pretty good discussion. Anyone have anything to add to that I didn't cover from that?
I will.
Yeah,
Thank
please
you,
do.
Michelle. I think you covered it very well, but I will say that I am disappointed that we are not moving the needle on our requirements, and I feel like this is an opportunity where we could be more creative and align more with what the state is putting forward for recommendations of both courses and their vision of a graduate. And I understand we need to get something passed and on the books, and I'm fine with this, but I feel like this is something, I understand it's going to be studied over the next year, whether it's possible to provide enough courses for 4 years of math. I don't understand how that's not possible. And Also, civics, I don't think we need a class. The state law is that students complete a civics project, which I think could be across the curriculum. And I think that could be a graduation requirement. Or nonprofit, charitable member hours, right? Service hours. Something, something to help our students stand out, make sure that they're going to succeed once they graduate. I think we can be a little bit, set the bar a little bit higher. And so I'm hoping over the next year that maybe we can, look at some of those possibilities.
I know in the curriculum meeting that we did talk about, one of the things was for the 4 years of math is, and Pete was saying that they're going to look at that, is the how for technical, if I'm doing carpentry, right, there's math just built in, right, and how to account for that. To kind of like, how do we say we've been doing 4 years of math? We might have to be creative, and just because we're a hybrid school. So we did kind of talk about that in the curriculum subcommittee meetings too. So yeah, I get your point, that's really good. And I think maybe service hours is something we should really think about.
Yeah.
Just as a general requirement, yeah.
I don't disagree, and I would suggest some, especially technical schools, are already doing that. Because again, but I'm not 100% comfortable with massaging the data. I want to start off and be upfront and honest with what we're doing and be able to lay out something truly really is very math intensive and we want to put in writing in a program of studies that that's the equivalent of a math class, that's fine. So we need some time to define that and get there, as opposed to, right now, MassCore is a suggestion on DESE's site, but they do reports that report districts as to what percentage or how close they are to MassCore, and there are many technical schools that are reporting 100% MassCore, which that's not happening without some gray definitions, and I'd rather spend a little time and make sure we're not being gray, that we're being more concrete. The civics, I 100% agree. I don't see any reason why we can't pretty quickly get a civics project required of every student. I think that's what we should do. We just need a little time to, and again, if we had the whole year to get this graduation requirement policy done, we'd be in much better shape. DESE told us in September we've got to get competency determination we were ready for, and also updated graduation requirements. So on top of the pathways to technical schools policies. So we're putting a lot out here because we were told last minute we need to do a lot, but we haven't seen, this won't be the last of the graduation requirement policy.
And I think to complicate it even more, we've talked in the past on curriculum, civics isn't just getting in your hours and writing it down on a sheet. I think too many schools rely on that. Oh, I got my hours. I told you this weekend I was at a function and there was a kid sitting there. I don't think he knew what was going on, but he was checking off his hours. I think civics means more than that, and I think it involves a really robust discussion about what do they mean when we say we want our kids to know civics. We've talked about the democracy course, but not every kid can take that. So how do we put some teeth into the requirement?
It's about the process, really, it's backwards design. They come up with a problem, they research the problem, and then they try to get the problem resolved. But sometimes that problem is not resolved. So it really has to be more instructionally based and not community service, although they could go hand in glove.
Yeah, and community service is really important. I think that's really important, but I think too many schools, as you said, Deb, rely on that to check off the box.
To just check off a box, and I don't want to just check off a box.
Do that low-hanging fruit. I think, we should shoot higher, and I certainly don't think that this is the end and the be-all, but, with that December 31st deadline looming, I think we've got to get this on the books and then continue to work on it. So.
Megan?
Are we okay to ask questions right now, or we're not voting on this first?
Yeah, we're in discussion.
Okay, sorry, I think I was. Is this requirement for seniors this year? So anyone who's a senior this year has to fall under these guidelines that we have, and what is our, I'll say.
But these are what we've already been doing.
So nothing.
Short of the physical ed piece, this is what we've been doing.
Yeah, so that was I guess, so then that kind of leads into the credit for life and relay for life. So, and I don't know credit for life, I just tried to look it up. But Relay for Life is a fundraiser. So are kids required to fundraise? And is this something, I know like you said it would be during the day instead of at night. So is it a school day instead of a Saturday evening? During the school day.
During the school day.
It's during the school day.
I think participation, I'll leave that to Dr. Dufresne.
So, yeah, but it's, for us, it's more about participation than it is fundraising.
Right.
When I met with the civil rights auditor, and he indicated that these were two things, at first he said, oh, you have to offer more PE classes, and I was like doing the math with him, I'm like, I'd have to like lay off like 4 people and hire like 4 more PE teams. He was like, oh, no. Give me some community events that you would do, and I threw out a bunch of them, and he was like, oh, Relay for Life, that counts. I'm like, that counts as a, it's very odd, in my mind, this is a very odd requirement. But Relay for Life is a nice piece, no one's gonna flunk because they didn't raise money. It's more about participation and maybe some community service vibes that we would like to put out. And then Relay for Life is easy. The Credit for Life, apologies. The Credit for Life is easy. That is put on for us by Country Bank. It is a simulation. It's pretty jazzy. They take the seniors who are heading out into the world and they...
It's financial literacy piece.
It's the gamified. I was skeptical at first, and then the first time I ever saw it, and it's pretty interesting. And it's timely for the seniors.
Thank you.
Okay.
So I just had a question when you were in your curriculum, if you had started talking about what alternatives or what options will be available for those students who are not physically able to get those physical education classes in there, because you have students who are sophomores going into juniors who still have not had a physical education and have been told they will not get it unless it's one semester their senior year or they take it their summer. And I know that falls for a handful of students that are going to be struggling for just getting the 1 to 2 credits that they're required. So to require 4 years, I'm just wondering what conversations you've started to have on what would be acceptable accommodations for that.
Dr. Dufresne.
So we have, we can accommodate anyone who's got a physical disability.
No, I'm not saying they have a disability. I'm saying their schedules have not accommodated them to take a physical education class.
So every student should be able to take, because you only need 140 credits right now to graduate, you can earn up to 160, so there are slots there available. If there's anyone, and then we have had transfer students who came in from different schools, their credits as juniors didn't quite match up, so we've done different things with them to make sure that they earn their credits. And any administrator's happy to talk to a student if there's a concern that they won't be able to get the credits. If it's an outlier.
I know there's a few outliers that lie in, just students who have IEPs that are also in the CAD program that are also in AP classes. They have a required tutorial program that takes the classroom time. So those students unfortunately have been kind of in this slot.
And the counselors then will have to
Oh,
work
they're,
with-
yes, and I mean, it's
Right,
just been.
so I mean, there's exceptions to be made or documented what alternative options are. They're rare, but the counselors are fully prepared to work through those unique situations.
Yeah, we're not going to punish anyone for having a...
And again,
I was just
the
wondering if they brought
technical,
up in the curriculum coordinates, if you would.
the
sit
very
down.
technical path of the technical students is part of why why we have this struggle. You're an academic, you're a completely non-technical school, it is not a problem saying you gotta take a physical education course every single year for 4 years. It's different when you've got block scheduling, very much driven by the technical path that those students have to take. So, which is why the technical students are usually front-loaded as freshmen and sophomore to get those phys ed. That's how we got where we are. But the unique situations they've been working with for years, they'll continue to work with and make sure that we find appropriate alternatives. Yeah.
Any other questions? Seeing none, any objections to IKF on first reading? Any abstentions? Okay, approved on unanimous consent. Michelle?
And that was the easy one.
Right, yeah, exactly.
IKFE, competency determination. First, I want to give a shout out to Dr. Dr. Dufresne, Beth Johnson, all of the academic leads over there who really worked on this. To me, this was a huge undertaking, and I think, given the complexity of trying to come up with something with real teeth in it, I think it was a fantastic job. Just a great job and a great effort, I think, by everybody. You'll see in the graduation requirements, one of those requirements is that every student comply with competency determination requirements. Back in the old days, that was MCAS, no more. So every district has got to have one of these policies on the books by December 31st. And as we discussed in September, what leadership has come up with is this tiered approach to demonstrating competency. And I'll just briefly kind of bring it through it in the way that makes sense to me, and leave it to others to fill in where I fall short. Essentially, there are 3 pathways now for students to demonstrate competency. Gone is the single stakes, the single high stakes test. And in its place, you've got a general requirement that all students must pass with a minimum score of 70, and thereby demonstrate mastery in their English language arts, math, science, and beginning with the graduating class of 2027 U.S. history. Now that C- score, to me, ensures that our students actually, or that a Tantasqua diploma actually means something. But we're trying not to set the standard so high that it bars students who otherwise can demonstrate that they have mastered the subject. Not all students show their mastery in the same way. And so that is our first tier. If a student does not establish that first level of mastery, that 70 or higher in those core subjects, there are alternatives to showing mastery. The first is to essentially take on more courses. You'll take on an additional course and forego some electives. For example, in English language arts, if you don't get that C- or better in either literature and composition 1 and 2, you're going to be required to take an additional ELA course from either world literature, American Lit, or Brit Lit. And same applies to math. If you don't hit that minimum 70 in Algebra 1, Part 1 and Part 2, you're going to be required to take one additional math course from the program of studies. Science, same thing. You've got to pass with that minimum score, physical science or bio. If you don't, you've got the opportunity to show your mastery by going on and taking another course from the science curriculum. And then starting with that class of 2027, the same will apply to history. What happens, what's another pathway? Another pathway is using MCAS. I'm happy about this for 2 reasons. One, it is an indicator of a level of mastery in these subjects. If a student scores at least a 500 on the MCAS in one of those core subject matter tests, that is a way to establish mastery in English language arts, math, or science. The other reason I like it is because we are still going to be administering MCAS. It still means something to school districts, and I think this gives students a real incentive to do well on the MCAS, which is going to help our district when it's all said and done. So you've got kids who will come in saying, I've got to really do well in my grade-wise in these core subjects. For kids who struggle with that kind of performance, they've got the option of doing more additional coursework to demonstrate mastery in those core subjects, and they can also establish mastery by hitting that 500 or better on their MCAS. I think it gives teeth to competency. You're going to see when these are published statewide that a lot of districts are going with a very low bar. That's not the expectation of this district, but by the same token, I think this policy gives students multiple ways to show, depending on their own strengths and weaknesses and how they present their knowledge, gives them multiple ways to show that they've mastered the critical curriculum. Let's see here. I think that there are, you'll see in the policy, the additional considerations, students with disabilities, those with English as a second language, late enrolling students, and there is an appeals process. I also think the policy is intentionally holistic, that students are going to be identified early, those who perhaps are struggling to meet these criteria, and they're going to be assisted, they're going to be identified, they're going to be led through the multiple pathways, so that we don't have students on the verge of graduation finding that they didn't take that additional course, or they didn't perhaps maximize on the MCAS the way they might have had they known that this was the way to get there. So I think we're going to have great involvement from our guidance department in identifying and assisting those students, and I think students are going to feel a lot less pressure than some of them probably felt with the high-stakes single test that determined graduation for so many. On that, I open it up to discussion and ask that we adopt it on first reading.
Yep, this is a motion of the bylaw subcommittee, so it does not need a second, and discussion. Megan?
So if someone has less than a 70 and they are required to take an additional class, it doesn't say anything though, if they get a 60 in that class, they've met that requirement?
No.
Yep, okay, just wanted to be sure, I just wasn't sure,
Yeah.
it said, so.
I really like this. I will say, I am proud of what we've put forward because I don't want to just check off a box. And there will absolutely be a number of districts that will say if you pass, so you get a D- and you pass Algebra 1, you just pass freshman, sophomore. Having all of these D- and just getting by, to me, I wouldn't be comfortable saying, yeah, that's competency determination, and I'm going to state on graduation day that they are competent and able to move it. That it just doesn't feel right. If they get D- on those two and then take another one, and they pass it, because remember, they also have to pass these courses for graduation requirements. So they're meeting their graduation requirements with that D-. We just need a little more to say you're really competent, and if they get all Ds on all 4 of their math courses, fine. But we at least are gonna ask that they take a little more than just those first 2 with D- and call that a day.
I just want to say that the curriculum kind of echoed the sentiments that Michelle put so well from bylaw. I think we were very impressed with what you guys put forward, and I think it recognizes, it's flexible and recognizes the difference between different students and how they learn.
Yeah.
So it was really, I think we were all very impressed, so it was great.
Well, thank you. It was truly a group effort. We brought in every big brain we can find, from the people sitting behind me, and Tracy and Michelle, to Deb at points to poke holes in it. And we think it meets the spirit of what we're trying to get to, which is to maintain some rigor, but also not have a log jam of students in senior year.
It's a significant step forward for the school, I think.
Yeah, I think so too, which is again why, with no disrespect, I wasn't as worried as the graduation requirements, because I think this is making a statement, it's moving us forward, and we're gonna track some data. And when we track this data, it'll be interesting to see what percentage of our students aren't taking 4 math classes. But we do need to gather that data, and I think this is a good step to putting some teeth to it, giving the respect to the MCAS that still exists, trying to encourage students to pay a little attention early on, because what you're really doing is playing around with your electives at the end, which we're proud to offer so many electives. But we've got to make sure you've got some core knowledge before we can let you take those.
And I think it's worth noting, Danielle's suggestion, Jody did float this by DESE, and they were all very positive, and the feedback was great on this policy. So again, I don't know if every district is going to get that on the first pass.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting to see.
but-
I'm only aware, I've been in a room, only one of my peers has admitted they're doing something similar to this. Most are either quiet or they're just doing the bare minimum.
But I do believe they will all by
I
law
think
have to
you'll
be
see more.
published. They
Yeah.
all will be published.
They are, DESE is publishing all of them. Megan?
So same thing, so this is also for this group of seniors. So what happens, I guess, so this one I feel like is a little more tricky, potentially, for current seniors who might be in that D category. Let's
Yeah,
even say
it
69
is,
for
but we
devil's
also
advocate.
know there's an appeal process.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
if there's a handful of, many of the students that are struggling, we've known that for 2 years and been working with them. MCAS or not, we've been working this path for a lot of students. But there will be an appeal process. We're not going to not graduate some student who has clearly put in the work and the time.
That's fine. I just would think it's harder to get these extra
Oh, yeah.
courses.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep, for sure.
But I think it's to your credit, you've identified these kids, they've already been working with
Yes.
those kids all along.
Yep.
So I'd like to think they're that close to
Yep.
it anyway, even
Absolutely.
without this, so.
Yeah. Andy?
Do we have just a rough idea of how many students might need to opt into taking the additional core courses? And if we do, does that give us any staffing concerns or class?
Right, well, that's what we've been capable, do you have the numbers?
So last year, when we were working on this and some other things last year, we took a look at, what if we had implemented this right now? How many am I gonna need to hire? I don't wanna come back to you and ask for $750,000 worth of new staff, because I can't graduate all the students. So we found last year was about 20, would have been 24 students, I think we identified if it had happened, which we would have been able to absorb into our current, we might have had to run one fewer section of, say, cinema and one extra section of Brit Lit, but we would have been able to handle it. We had the capacity to handle that.
And we did look at lists over the summer for this current graduating, and it was less than 24. I believe 12 was a high number in one of the content, so they all throughout the, yeah. And even those, some of those students could get weeded out for whatever EPP they were on prior to that, so it was less.
Any other questions or comments? Any objections to IKFE on first reading? Any abstentions? Unanimous consent? On first reading. Michelle, JF1.
Yes, junior high pathway exploration policy. Third new policy this month. This one was made necessary by some amendments in May to the state regulations that govern career technical education. You'll see that right in the first paragraph of 603 CMP 4.0. And there are a number of amendments that occurred in May that are relevant to those, to admissions, to more of the tech division's workings, but for purposes of this policy, which by law has to be passed by November 1. So we'll be asking you for adoption on first reading. The amendments that are relevant for us are twofold. The first is a simple one. State's making a terminology change. Instead of using the term vocational education, we're now moving to career technical education. And that is the attempt to signal a broader framing of these types of programs as part of college and workplace readiness, as opposed to being strictly limited to the old school vocational education. But the second and bigger amendment is triggering this policy. Middle schools now who send or potentially can send students to technical and vocational schools must develop and publish by first a pathway exploration policy to ensure that students get early awareness of and access to the programs that are available to them. And you'll see, certainly asking some service to fill in more about the details, but you'll see by looking at the policy that our policy and our exploration really extends across the entire curriculum after junior high. 7th and 8th grade, it includes all facets of our high school CTE programs. It includes a really robust exploratory and career connection component, including a brand new art framework. It includes introduction to Naviance and all the technical offerings that will allow our students to be up and running and jumping right into not only understanding what's available and how it might connect to their interests and potential pathways, but when they hit that high school, whether it's in technical or the academic side, they are going to be ready to go with the technology that we've already got in place and that can assist them further. You'll see the policy is very robust in terms of maintaining records. The school is going to have to show how our students are introduced. We've already heard every year what a great program we have where our 8th graders go up tour our technical division. They do all want to join the tech program after they do that. That's just one way that we've always done awareness and access, but now we're reducing it to writing, we're expanding it, we're codifying it a bit more. And again, I think it's just a testament to what a great flip we do, getting our 8th graders excited about what the potentials are. But to me, this goes even further than that. It's with that terminology change. It's also career education. It's not just what the tech division offers. It's really getting these kids thinking early. Gee, what pathways might I want to explore? What's available here? How do I connect this interest to it? What technology allows me to explore that further on my own or through my school? All of that's encompassed in this policy. I think it's great, and I think we should adopt it for November 1.
So does it need a second? Questions, discussion?
I
Yeah,
have a friendly amendment.
Yeah,
There's a couple of them.
that, we didn't correct that, yeah.
We had tried to remove references to the actual platform that we use in
Oh, the
Naviance.
Naviance, yeah.
Yeah, and it's still on the top of the second page. So I don't know if we could just change that to.
Yeah, we did that, so it wouldn't.
In case we change.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
So if it
we don't wanna
changes, we
promote
don't
a
need to
commercial
vote on the policy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Program.
There's 2 other changes as
Yeah.
well.
Okay.
It says excellent,
Excellent.
whatever that word is,
Exploratories.
but it should say exploratory.
Exploratories.
Where is that?
Right underneath exploratory and career connections.
And then the other thing, I'd like to spell out junior high in the
Yeah,
first
junior high
bullet.
principal.
Under regional vocational technical tours. We spell out junior high everywhere else, we should spell it out in the first bullet. So 3 changes, which I can do right now, so that you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Judy.
Okay, any other questions?
Just
Ted?
Yeah, just a quick comment from the curriculum. I think we were impressed again. It was kind of nice to see this all written down, all the awesome stuff that the junior high is doing to prepare for our junior high kids for high school, with even just getting them into Naviance and then all
Right.
the great exploratory classes. It was impressive.
And we're in better shape. Well, this is a double whammy, by the way, because May, they changed regulations, and then they say in September, you've got to have this in place by November 1st. You have to have this in place for every sending school, which we are, and every receiving technical school needs to have their admission policy reviewed, which we vote every year anyway. So we have to do both. But many of my peers are frustrated with the quick turnaround and what they see as a lot of work to codify what they do on sending end. And of course, many single school districts do not willingly put their 8th graders in front of technical presentations because they don't want to lose those children from a financial point of view where we literally have been walking them across the street forever. So it certainly puts us in a good place and another point of pride. I will say, I've got to upload our latest admissions policy. We have been voting it for years as a protocol. That will be fine for me to upload, but I do think sometime soon I'll probably bring it to bylaw and say, can we put a file number on it and call it a policy?
Yeah, and I think looking at the code,
Yeah.
it talks about
Yeah.
that, the way I read it.
And I think we always talked about it and voted it as Mr. Wood presented it, calling it almost a policy, and
Yeah.
it never occurred to me until all of this happened that it didn't have a file number on it. So let's put a file number on it, put it in our book. But that is what I will be uploading to DESI because they want that as well as this.
The admission, the lottery, that
Yes,
kind of thing.
correct.
That I think would be well
Yeah.
placed in a
Yeah.
policy.
Yeah.
And I think we did have it as a policy, but took it out because the application was also connected.
Yes,
Yeah,
we-
it was some weird
So I
stuff,
think we
so.
just put in the narrative instead of the
Yeah.
application.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
But we, there also
Yeah.
have been ahead of the game. We've been a lottery for as long as I know, where some of the others out there have not. So while there's some fighting and disagreement with the newest admissions requirements, we've been there.
Because the interesting thing about the lottery though is they're now allowing, it's not a pure lottery. You can bring in weighted factors. And with the caution that that may lead to inequities that would trigger a review. So
Yep.
it's kind of, you know, damned if you do, damned if you don't. So it's, I think it is a little tricky there.
Yep.
So we should definitely take that out.
Yep, okay.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, any objections to JF1 on first reading?
That will be first reading and adoption.
And adoption, yes.
Because that one gave us a November 1st deadline as
Correct.
opposed to
Yep.
December 31st.
Right. Any abstentions? By unanimous consent, it has been adopted.
Can I,
One
one more comment. I just want to touch upon another conversation that we've been having in policy for quite a while now. I wish Bill was here, because it's usually his pet project. Policy JIB, Student Advisory Council. For those of you who recall, state law requires that we elect and maintain a student advisory council up at the high school, and the law requires that that council meet with the school committee at least every other month. And we have tried for years to comply with the letter and the spirit of that law, and through no one's fault and through incredible efforts, I think it's been really daunting. We have so many students who are involved in student governance that this is just one more thing that we were asking or have been asking them to do, and I think we haven't been able to generate the interest in having kids come over here to meet with us every other meeting, let's say. And apparently in our last meeting, thank you, Laura, someone threw out a great idea saying, let's flip the script, and instead of asking our student advisory council to come to us on our terms, how about if we go to them and meet them where they're at and open up a dialogue that way? In fact, the suggestion that was made is that perhaps the Cornerstone Cafe would be an excellent place for school committee members to volunteer to go sign up ahead of time and go over and meet with some or all of that committee in a setting that's comfortable for them, that isn't as dry as perhaps these meetings are for them, and that is much more likely to lead to a really fruitful discussion between them and us. I think that meets the letter of the law. I'll leave it to Dr. Dufresne to actually figure out how we do that, but I want to throw it out here so people are starting to think now, how can we all participate in that and help this process flourish?
If I may, it was a great idea, and I don't know why no one had thought of it all these
I
years
don't-
before. Because when I talk to the kids, I'm like, well, you come to a meeting, you know, and they're like, how many people are there? I'm like, well, it's at night, it'd be quick though. And they're like, yeah, I mean, I signed up for it. When I said to them, the school committee had a great idea. They thought they might take it as a cornerstone. They were like, oh, when are we doing this? So they're now excited, so
Because
really.
the average student, by the way, has not seen the Cornerstone.
Yeah.
No,
well,
they don't see
The
it.
average student is not.
Yeah.
It's actually the little secret that the staff likes to keep to themselves. When you know, there's many staff that use the Cornerstone, but the average students, I've had a superintendent advisory meeting there on occasion, and they're like, oh, we didn't know this was a thing.
So now they're ready.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the reasons we've been hung up on this is because we've been trying to adhere so strictly to the law that we haven't been able to comply at all. So you know, getting a little creative with that new viewpoint, you know, any kind of compliance is better than no compliance. And I think this is actually going to lead to a lot better discussion.
Well, now you're gonna have a whole lot of compliance.
So,
Food in the picture.
And if we'll love to be in.
So it's a great idea.
Well, there'll be a list
It's
for
great
vote
idea,
for election
and,
next year. There'll be a laundry list of
Yeah.
people.
you know, so we'll let Peter kind of get that, how that's gonna work together, and we'll float it out to you folks, and hopefully everybody will be able to find a slot where they can volunteer and serve, and then come back and report to the committee about what that dialogue with our students was. So.
It'll be good to see Bill. I'm gonna go to when Bill goes.
Oh, gosh, yes. Oh, gosh, yes. Yeah.
He said last night.
He's gonna go every time.
He's probably
will.
He was gonna accompany Bill to the
I am
meeting.
disappointed he couldn't make tonight. He wasn't feeling well. He'll be disappointed when he finds out it was such a topic. It is near and dear to his heart.
Okay, Michelle.
That's it.
ACGA,
Or those
Oh, yeah,
are
those are just two
reviews?
policies
Oh,
we
reviews,
reviewed, no
right.
action required.
Right, just reviewed.
So I'm done.
Great, thank you so much. Okay, we will go back to superintendent's report if you have anything left.
Holy moly, there's not a lot left. Heads up, November is slated to be also our joint meeting. So just be prepared for a longer, this is longer than usual, but a longer meeting because we will do the joint meeting at 6 o'clock, and that is typically when we present to you the proposed calendar for next year, the central office budget, enrollment data, October 1 enrollment data, which is connected to central office budget, and I'm not sure if anything else. So that'll happen, and then the calendar, as I said, I did start with the calendar. And then we will do the MCAS presentation at the regular meeting after that joint meeting. So regular meeting will start after, makes it a little bit longer. The students did talk about their upcoming Halloween activities, which is the day before Halloween, because Halloween is a PD day. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of adult costumes, perhaps maybe a Frodo. Bilbo. We shall see.
Yeah.
Especially that we there's a number of options here. Just saying. Nothing would make the students angrier is if their principal was in garb and they weren't here. So that's the full PD day, where there's a presentation for all, the presenter is presenting twice. Secondary, first or second? I think it's elementary presentation in the auditorium first, and then they go to breakout sessions, and then vice versa for secondary. Some of the, it's that day where you can see anyone crossing the streets. Again, Gandalf walking across 148.
And I'm not that striking of a figure.
So that is the 31st, and I hope that day goes as well as it sometimes has in the past. And that is it. We did already talk about the interim moving to permanent. We will kind of share a new high school org chart in the next month or so. And the MASC conference is before we meet next. It's so I'll be down the 12th, 13th, and 14th and see what kind of sessions they have going on. That's it for superintendent's report. Although I can segue right into communications, a couple of things you already did refer to, your subcommittees and your chairs on those committees was in your communications. We already received our E&D certification, which I was really happy to get done already, which is great, and we are kind of right where we thought we would be. We're a little bit below the 5% threshold, so everything going good still as far as the DOR is concerned. And there is the communication that we did get what we expected to get. We would have been disappointed if we didn't, because when we received this grant last year, we were told it was a 2-year grant, and it is the Safe and Supportive Schools grant that we got confirmation we are receiving the second year of $10,000, so I would like a vote just to accept that grant.
Right. A second? Second. Any objections? Any abstentions? Unanimous consent.
That's it for communications.
Okay, unfinished
One more.
business is the educator eval
Yeah.
MOU vote.
So this was on your agenda last month, and I failed to send you the document. I have hard copies, but I sent you 2 documents, one that showed the markup and one showed the final clean. Our TEA union reps who actually spearheaded getting it voted by their unit. It is mostly housekeeping, right? Couple little small date cleanups, but the unit, I believe, in June, before the end of last year, actually voted to support it, correct? So I am just asking for the school committee to support these updates to the educator evaluation agreement. That is an amendment, it's an addendum to your regular contract.
Do I have a motion?
Second.
A second. Discussion? Seeing none, any objections? Abstentions? Consent.
Thank you. Leave it from me.
Do we have any public access this evening? All good out there? Thank you for coming. Open forum.
What's the date of our next meeting?
18th, does that sound right?
Yeah. That's what I was confused.
18th. I'll tell you what's actually good is, I think the last couple of years, it's been Thanksgiving week, but it's not.
Yeah.
So it's not as painful to have those meaty conversations when you're not rushing to get out and start your cooking or ordering.
Right. Anybody have anything on that? Yes, Danielle?
I don't want to belabor it, but there have been some inconsistencies in posting of our meetings lately, and I know that our website is being worked on, I hear, which seems perpetually an issue. But if the website is the issue, that it's difficult to update, or the section is just so confusing and I have trouble accessing the files on there if you're not logged into Gmail or something, I feel like this is an accessibility and accountability issue, and we need to make sure that we're addressing at least the meeting postings and materials, if not addressing the rest of the site. And if that means adding something to the central office
Well,
budget.
I will need clarification. I know
Sure.
last month,
Yeah.
we found something that was completely personnel related that she had failed to update on the website. So that is a personnel issue. I saw some communication today between you and Carol that I thought was dealing with the Brookfield website. That is not something that we have a lot of control over.
Okay.
So we
yeah,
put it
so
on
things
the
last
Tantasqua
month,
website.
right.
I know of one failure to get it up there.
There were multiple subcommittee meetings that weren't posted in September.
For the month of September,
For the
correct,
website.
correct.
Yes.
Right, so that was clarified.
Yeah.
But I'm only aware of that issue and
So, and
that
then
has
when you
been
go
corrected.
to our website, there's a section of like meeting notices, and there's nothing under there. Then you go into Tantasqua, and then you have to, drill down to.
Right, and I don't know how we're ever going to help the fact that there are 6 school districts on that website. That is a problem, because most districts get to have one place to go and they're gonna see all their meetings. We do have to have that drill down because we've got 6. But I'm happy to talk with you offline or talk to Carol to get some more information as to what issues were brought to her. So we'll look at, because I wasn't aware of anything aside from the September, some subcommittee meetings were missed in September, and we did chat about getting caught and keeping up on those.
And I think just making sure, I know that it gets sent out to all the town clerks, but I
Yep.
don't see anywhere where it's posted, so I don't know if it's physically in the building or what
Well,
happens when.
I mean, our legal requirements are to post it on our
Website.
regional website and notify the town clerks. They all handle it differently.
Yeah.
Which is the world we live in, and they all have different personnel, different people that do it, and they post it in different ways. So I know that we've notified the town clerks, and usually I think you guys are copied when the posting goes up.
Yeah.
It's to the town clerks and all of you. The first one, when she posts the agenda, that's to the town clerks, and you just happen to be copied. So that's our legal requirement. I believe Regions Legal, if we just put it on our website, we're covered. But we want to get it to the towns also. But each town has a different place that they put it in, a different process for putting it up there.
And then we have the separate calendar, right, the district calendar.
Right.
Right,
Not
right.
there, though.
And then even each town
Yeah,
does something
subcommittee is
different with
not-
their own calendars too.
Right.
So, I mean, we do have the district calendar that we attempt to put every meeting on.
Right.
Not necessarily the agendas, and I wouldn't say that that's linked to the agenda, but at least when we schedule meetings, the massive calendar is updated.
Not the subcommittees though.
No, you're right, the subcommittees, that district calendar has every activity that we have across all 6 districts. So the subcommittees haven't been on that district calendar. So we can kind of talk about how else to get subcommittee? Is it subcommittees that's your primary concern?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like for this body, because we're so large, a lot of the meat of our discussions happens in
Yep.
subcommittee meetings, which are
Yep.
open to the public, and they deserve to,
Yep.
you know, have the full accountability of being posted and being reported on.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anything else on the open forum? Thank you all for coming. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Unanimous consent, I'm assuming.
Thank you, folks, and thank you, Sheila, for the last minute pinch hitting.